what is a trade? They're a journeyman. They have a vocation. They do the work. I don't think I'm a tradesperson. I think I'm a professional. I can spell the word. And basically, when they came to us in 1998, we got together and said, no. And they were very convincing. They said, come to our meetings, bring us all of your books. We want your books, because we want to make certain that the licensing exams that we make you write come out of your books. I said, I don't think so. I've worked too hard for my books. Barb said the same thing. Her curriculum, she was not going to have. Diane Spartum, I don't know if any of you know that name.
I do.
Yeah, Diane Spartum was part of the group. In fact, I had a video, or a VHS actually, old school, that we had hoped to show today, but unfortunately it didn't work. But these are the types of books that we turn out. Government said, oh, bring them in. Well, are you going to pay us for them? Oh, no. I said, well, then you're not getting my books. They said, fine. They pushed on in their way. Diane Spartum, Barb Matheson, and myself formed the National Agency of Pet Grooming Schools, and we pushed our way. And we fought them tooth and nail. It took us 2.5 years to get them off our radar. Goes down in history. I got the VHSs to prove it. That's why we're filming today. Because whether you realize it or not, we are still on the government radar. They
Are
still
those
want
tapes
us.
available to view at all?
We had hoped to be able to do them today, but unfortunately the VHS machine doesn't work.
We had to take the TV apart this morning, or this afternoon, just to get the VHF without destroying the.
But yes, I would love to show you the tapes because they're very informative.
That's why the TV looks so
Yeah.
really clean right now.
Anyways, basically what we want to do today is to tell you just a little bit about what's going down. We're on the government radar. It's there, it's real, it's happening in California. Everybody's seen the SB 969 bill that's out. It's been rewritten a number of times. I don't know if you have groomers in California that you talk to, associations that you talk to, but it's real. They're terrified. Tomorrow, they could wake up and not have a business. The vets would rule. Tomorrow, we could wake up and the tradespeople could say, you're under the trades. A couple of weeks ago, I got a notice from the Ontario Colleges of Trades and was asked to do a summary report for them. 47 pages of questions, and it basically is all on the setup of compulsory and voluntary trades. They now have a group that's compulsory, a group that's sort of in the middle, and a voluntary group that's called voluntary. 3 levels of licensing. What they're hoping to do is move level 3 up to level 2, 2 into 1, and they want to create a whole new group down below. I don't know if you've seen who's on their list right now. In the list of service trades, Aboriginal child care practitioner, dairy herdsman, fruit grower, swine herdsman, appliance service technician, arborist, assistant cook, baker, a chef, child and youth worker, child care practitioner, cook, development services worker, the list goes on and on and on and on. They are now in the service division. Some of them require licensing, some do not. They would like to bring us into their little fold. I said, I don't think so. So I'm preparing the documentation to give my statement. They did not ask, to my knowledge, OGGA. Anybody here representing OGGA?
We didn't hear
Oh,
anything. No.
They didn't send you
No, but
anything?
we're not a governing body, so they probably
would not, you know,
Well,
would not ask
interesting,
for-
because they didn't send it to the national agency, they didn't send it to Pampered Paws. Anybody that I have spoken to in the trade or business of pet grooming hasn't received it. Why they sent it to Lesley Weeks,
Oh, probably
I don't
because
know.
they know that you have this going. So
they
they're,
wouldn't have known at this stage when I got it. Unlikely. Anyways, they hold themselves out as the College of Trades is an independent, self-regulatory body of Ontario's apprenticeship and skilled trade system. And they would like to bring us into the fold. Fine. If that's what you want, it can happen probably within the next 90 days. If it's not something that you want to do, you may not even have a choice because you'll never even hear about it until you get a notice, probably through the newspaper or through the radio stations or through television, that you now have to be in the trade. Government's real good at doing this, and I speak firsthand. I had the government come to me in January 2010, close down my business. Flat out. Pampered Paws, cease and desist. I went, WTH, what's going on here? And it took me a few days to figure out that it wasn't my whole company they were closing down, it was just the teaching portion. I couldn't teach. I'd been teaching long before the Private Career Colleges Act was even in place. But now, their act of 2005 overruled my business. And a lot of other businesses, a lot of other services that are now on this list of who they want to include. It's not new to them. They've had our eye on us for a long time. And the others, the seamstress worker, the forklift truck driver, all those schools that you saw closed down January 10, they're on this list. Okay. So what's next? We either form together and get our own Groomers Act put together, which is self-regulation amongst our peers, or we allow the government just to take over us. It's real simple. And if the government takes over us, they might have a fight with the vets, who might also like to have you on their radar. Because if you were brought in under their act, you would have to be supervised by the veterinarian. Veterinarian goes, I don't have time to go around and supervise all these little shops. Don't have the time. So I'll just close you down.
Who's to say the vets actually want to get involved, though?
The vets individually don't have a say in California.
So would they not fight it, though?
They may,
Isn't
they
that
may
what they're
not.
doing? They're fighting-
that's what I had heard,
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
were saying they wanted nothing to do with that.
They honestly don't have a voice. It is all up to their governing board through their own practicing act, the Veterinarian Act. Here in Ontario, same thing. The vets have their own practicing act, their own governing body. If they decide to do it, it'll be members of the board that say, hey, I like this idea. I like what California's doing. I like what Texas is doing. Has anybody looked up what's happening in our big old state of Texas? Same thing. It's happening in Vermont. It's happening in Maine today. It's only a matter of time, ladies. And believe me, I'm not standing here as sort of the wicked woman of the West. I'm standing here because I believe in our industry. I honestly want this act because it will benefit all of us. If you don't want it, then just continue to put your heads in the sand because somebody's going to take over it, whether you like it or not. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but within a short period of time, you will wake up one morning and find that you're covered by somebody's act somewhere, whether it's the Veterinarians Act, the Ontario College of Trades Act, or maybe it's the Private Career Colleges Act. You already fall under the Private Career Colleges Act, whether you know it or not. We have a new egg here, right? She's going to learn how to groom. Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But her instructor is somewhat hampered. Because if you don't like the fact that she's teaching her employee, you can squeal. And they can close her down from teaching niece, is it a niece?
Ann.
Yeah, and to know
Caitlin, sorry.
your family relationship. Is there, no family relationship. But you can't train your employees now as a vocation. You can hire them, you can pay them a fee, you can show them how the work is done, but if they walk out your door and say, you taught me a vocation, all of a sudden you could be in trouble, and you don't even know it yet. I don't want that to happen to anybody ever again. I have
So
thought-
what's your solution to that then?
My only solution is to go the route that so many other professional fields have gone, and that's to develop our own practicing act. Somebody had to write it. I wrote it.
So would apprenticeship, with what you want to do, would apprenticeship be allowed then?
We would work real hard to make certain it is included. Now, that's why we're here. In the beginning, somebody has to put down words on paper. You have to consult with various people.
But why wasn't that done prior?
It was done prior, you just happen to be not on the board.
So who's the board made of?
Presently, right now, Eda and I, and there are 18 other groomers involved. There is a team of 3 lawyers, a crew that does nothing but typing.
But they don't know what's good for our industry, lawyers and people that do
No,
typing.
but what a good lawyer will do is they will listen to what you want.
Right.
So what we did was we took the act of the veterinarians. We took the most recent act that came into power, and that was for the interior designers of Ontario. We took the Accountants Act, we took the Realtors Act, and just sort of dissected them and said, what's good or bad about these? Excuse me. And we realized that grandfathering became a critical issue in our field because where the Interior Designer Act fell apart was they didn't include any grandfathering into the act. So what happened, they wrote a great act regarding schooling and where the new egg should go and what her designation should be and what internships were and a whole lot of good things, but they forgot you. You, the designer, who's been designing maybe for 45 years, left you out in the cold. And unless you went to the prescribed school, you couldn't call yourself a designer any longer. And there are designers all across Ontario right now who probably were innovators in their field to develop this profession. They cannot call themselves an interior designer any longer. They can call themselves a decorator. Well, when I talk, and I'm on Designer Row right in downtown Yorkville, and I got all the boys sitting right across from me. And when this act came into being, they were stunned, absolutely stunned. Fenwick Bonnell, luckily, went to school. He could call himself an interior designer. His partner, David Powell, who basically built the association that brought in the act, could no longer call himself an interior designer. Gluckstein, same. Many others, the same. I don't want to see that happen to us. When the hairdressers came into being in 1978, when the tradespeople took them over, if all of you were hairdressers at that time, you couldn't practice hair cutting again until you wrote an exam. You're running your business. You've got a shop, you got 5 people cutting hair, you got employees to pay for. And now you can't cut hair anymore. And in your group, nobody's cutting hair, except for this little girl over here, because she was one of the new eggs. And when the Ministry of Education came into the hairdressing field and closed down all of the hairdressing schools, like a Pampered Paws way back then. Bruno's and Valens and Marvell and all of them were all closed down. Same as it happened in our industry. And then they had to go through approval. Some survived, some didn't survive. Some that were considered some of the best schools, the people just said, not worth it. Don't want to do it. Today we're seeing the same thing with Barb. She's registered, she's raring to go, but the fees that she has to drop into their bucket right now, she's saying, hell no. No way, I'm not doing that. Security deposit of this volume for the trade size that we are, no way, I'm not doing it. And good for Barb. I commend her for it. Yeah. I'm in basically the same thing. They're sitting there with 16 Gs of mine, and I can teach every single level of grooming, except I can't teach this young lady how to bath a dog. Why? Because they have colleges now that do that. Our McGinty government wants everybody to go to college. So, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the employment services of MTCU. We'll talk about that in a minute. Anyways, there is an employment profile they put out every year on their grads. It's 400 and some odd pages. This is for animal care. In 2011, 571 people were enrolled in a program for animal care of some nature. That was animal care, animal grooming, veterinarian technician, veterinarian technology. They were from Durham, Northern, Sheridan, St. Lawrence, Algonquin, Georgian, St. Clair, and St. Lawrence, Northern St. Lawrence. Of the 571 enrolled, 393 graduated, 73%. It's pretty good. In the animal care, 229 enrolled, 229 enrolled, 156 graduated, and total in the workforce was 114. Animal grooming, there were 7 grads. 5 were surveyed, and there are 3 in the labor force. How are these schools going to keep up to the demand that we need for groomers if we're not allowed to teach, or schools of a private nature are not allowed to teach?
What year was that, sorry?
This year, 2010. So, then they started to divide it down into the 5 occupational categories for all animal care workers. First is veterinarian and animal health technology and technicians. That would be laboratory science work. Pet groomers and animal care workers, veterinarians, retail salespersons and sales clerks, and cashiers. Now, those are just figures. Nothing more, nothing less. Available to all of you on the internet. You just have to type it in. What you may not be aware of is employment services under MTCU. And all of the fees that the various colleges pay go into a little service bank. And then it gets doled out. Every year, they dole out big money to various colleges and universities to do leasehold improvements, moving costs, purchasing of equipment, transportation and transformation information, various types of funding. Does it ever make it to a private career college, such as BPRO? Not one penny. Not one penny. and it will pay up to $8,000 per graduate.
Do you have
if
to
you've
apply
got-
for it though?
The colleges do, yes, you have to apply for it. And they get you the GST and HST rebates and all of that good stuff. You can have a look at that. What I'm saying is, we can get sucked into these big government organizations and still never have a voice, never see a penny of the fees that you pay into it. I can guarantee you, there is not one hairdresser out there, one plumber, one electrician, one pipe fitter, who has ever seen $1 to improve his leasehold improvements within his organization. But they will take your fees and they will turn it over to the colleges and universities so that your daughter and son have a better place to go. It's nothing to do with education. All it has to do is improving the environment. Lita, you went through a major renovation here. Yeah, big one, beautiful, love it, looks grand, costs you a lot of money. Wouldn't it be nice if the government had given you some money? But no, what they did was they just closed you down too, didn't they? Rook, that was one wild moment. And it was a ride for a lot of us, and a lot of the groups that got closed down have band together as a group for support to say, okay, what's next? They now realize what's about to happen to their trades. They know what's going to happen. I don't want it to happen to us. I don't know what else to tell you other than, yes, a group of us got together, yes, a group of us had to put some words down. If we don't start somewhere, we'll never agree. We had 18 people who were groomers, and we were having a hard enough time getting them to stay on track, let alone hundreds of groomers that are affected. Now we've got the base core done. Now we've got to take it to the next level, and that's why we're talking to you. But time is running out. I can guarantee you, with the report that Ontario College is asking for now, it won't be long. I give you 18 months. And you can strike me on that one.
When you say Eda was shut down, do you mean that her teaching abilities, she could no longer offer the,
Yes.
expert? That's a lot of money for you at like $5,000 a pop.
Are we allowed to teach if we're paying the employee?
Officially, no, if you're teaching them a vocation.
That's not what we were told
But does
at
that
the meeting.
include like a bather? Like, you know, in summertime, if you have like a higher volume, or wintertime, your prime season, and then if you need to hire on more staff.
If you need that, no,
Yeah,
you can't
that's
do
what we were
that.
told.
You're
See,
training.
that's really detrimental because
I thought,
if I need those people, and it's just, you know.
And
if
that's
I'm
why
giving
they
them
set up
those
these
weeks,
colleges. That's why they set up Northern, why they set up Algonquin.
Leslie,
And
at that
teaching
meeting we
bathing
had,
programs.
what was it, 2 years ago? Went on to,
Yeah. It was,
With Rosen,
yeah,
Rosen Harris?
yes.
Yeah.
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 He said as long as you're paying them, that you could get away with it.
At that moment in time, he was absolutely correct, but
So
take a look at the 5 revisions that that act has gone through. That's where our problem is now. And that's why Northern College and all the ones that they've listed here for pest rumors, right, Algonquin and Northern and St. Lawrence.
But that was 2 years ago when this first happened, right?
That's right.
So even if you pay someone, you can't train them?
No, you can't. If it's for a vocation. So the main thing is, when you get an employee in that you are about to train, that you say, I am training you to work in my business. I am not training you as a pet groomer. I'm not training you as a bather. I will never refer to you as a pet groomer. I'll never refer to you as a bather.
So that means
And that's the way you get around it.
So it's supposed to just be
Well,
employees.
They're just
The
employees.
hairdressing act, they're.
Hairdresser
yeah,
can't.
They can bring in people to wash people's hair
That's because it's in their,
without having them to have any sort of whatever you would call it. I
That's
guess
'cause
comparable to
it's-
ours would be the dog
Yes,
bather,
that's
licensed
right.
dog bather.
the problem is we don't have that ability right now because we don't have a governing body. So if somebody were to get upset at you and knew that you were training 2-3 people to bathe, and they just didn't like the color of your shop interior, they could squeal on you and they'll be at your door with a fine. That's all I'm telling you. And if you doubt me, just take an act, the Private Careers Colleges Act, to your lawyer and say, devour this one. And they have made 18 changes since 2009 to that act.
When did that act come into effect?
It came into effect in 2005, went into royal descent in 2006. Basically, it was ignored even by the private career colleges. And it was ignored mainly because they had so much work, they didn't want to look for new schools. What happened was a student went to a school that closed down. Their parents went to the ombudsman to get the kids' money back. The ombudsman said, there shouldn't be a problem because there's a fund for that and you should get your money back. So they went that route to find out that the school was never registered. To make it worse than that, then this lady who ran the school was working for MTCU in an administrative basis. So the ombudsman said, no. And he is really the whistleblower. So then all of a sudden, everybody at MTCU had to get their quota filled. And they closed down everything from dance shops to everything. They didn't hit on the figure skating world. Why? Because we have our own act. And we have our own association that governs us for our licensing and our testings. So as we move up the ladder, I can't go to the Olympics unless I have a certain level to skate with my skater. So they have various levels. So they were okay. Why was the Royal Ontario Museum, or not Royal Ontario, the music, Royal Conservatory of Music not affected? I went, why? Why? They're teaching people how to play instruments that go out and get jobs. Why is the dance group not being affected by this? People are going there to learn how to dance to get a job. Why? And at first I thought, oh, okay, it's just political money. Okay, I might get that one. But what it is they never say anything about a job or a career or a vocation. They talk about a profession. You are an individual dancer in the business of dance, and that's how they get around it. What we did when we advertised our schools, both the pipe fitter, the dog groomer, the seamstress, the flower arranger, we all said, you're going to get a job. There's a need for this field. That's where we made our mistake. The fact that I called myself a college, yeah, I considered myself a private little college. But that's a word I can't use anymore because it's in their act and they say only they can use that word. If we have our own bill, we can have our own college that would set up whatever we wish it to set up. A professional is one that holds themselves out as an expert, who specializes, who is qualified and proficient. They are skilled, trained, practiced, and they are certified and or licensed. They have a career, and they are anything but an amateur in the eyes of the public. That's a pro. Trade, as we said, doesn't exist.
My husband gets good paid, good for something that doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah, but he can't honestly call himself a professional person. He's a journeyman.
He's an electrician.
Yeah,
done
and they
well
make
with
good
it.
money. Every
He'll
time
tell
that
you
they
for
walk
years
into
and
my
years and
shop,
years, yeah.
it's $1,000 by the
Yeah,
time they walk out.
exactly.
Yeah. But anyways, it's not about trying to scare you. It truly isn't. It's about how do we move forward so that we gain some control over our own industry. I've been ridiculed badly over this. Oh, NAPGS is gonna make a pile, and NAPGS this, and NAPGS that. I don't have a say in that. If this act goes through, there is going to be a minister who is going to be in charge of the bill, and he will select the governing body, and he will select the people, the 3 people that are under counsel for him, and then that's it. We don't even know what ministry the assembly will throw us into.
So they could throw us under the vets anyways.
No. They could throw us under the Ministry of Agriculture, they could throw us under the Ministry of Education, they could throw us under who knows who. Right? That's whoever gets this bill and has final say on it, basically says, this is who. You and I, we don't have a voice. So when I'm asked, what ministry would you like to see it under? I would like to see it under the Ministry of Agriculture, no question. Why? Because I deal with animals. I don't see us under education, because we don't educate the animal. We may try to think we do, but we really don't, right? We're working with these 4-legged creatures and their livestock. And that's all dogs are. That's all cats are, livestock. So I think that's where we should be, whether or not,
Aren't dogs already under the Ministry of Agriculture?
only in as much as they are registered purebreds.
So there's nothing in the agricultural,
Well, they'll
thing right
define
now
what
that
a
can
dog-
protect them, like, right now.
There are some very general rules as to what you can and can't do with an animal, and of course, one of them is dying, right? Not supposed to die a rabbit or a chicken, but they don't use the word rabbit or chicken. They say, a mammal will not be died. Well, all of those individuals who are coloring animals out there for fun and creativity, they may one day wake up and somebody reports them. And some,
Because I actually spoke with someone about the creative group.
Yeah.
The coloring.
And
yeah,
was told that, as long as you're not using harmful products. I actually have the letter at home.
yeah,
And
I
that
mean,
there's
but if
nothing wrong with
somebody,
it.
you could take it to the ultimate degree. There are certain states you can't do it at all.
Well,
You come down
Florida
on
was,
Florida.
but they're back now, you can
Yeah.
now.
So it
Well, if they
flips
allow
us.
dog racing, come on, you can put some color in a dog. I mean, if they allow dog racing, it's kind of a little bit of,
So what we,
oh, it's
what
pretty
we did
hypocritical.
then, as we started to move forward with this concept, and this has been in the making almost 2 years now, this isn't brand new. So we went, okay, who are major clubs? So we went, okay, CKC, no problem, the Cat Association, no problem, the Ontario Handlers Association, no problem, there's ODTA, there's CPG, there's all of those out there. National Agency has always advertised ODGA in their literature, that when you went to license out, you had to be a member of either the CKC or an association like the ODGA. So I went, cool, all right, let's see what happens. So then we went out and ordered status certificates. Then it got a little messy, because papers weren't in order. And that posed a real problem for us, because we couldn't name these organizations in the Act if they weren't registered properly. And what did we find out? And these are impact analysis sort of. This is a copy of what you do at David and Henderson to order a status certificate on any company. Any company that is registered in Canada, any private person can go pay their money and check it out. Lots of people do it, especially when they're about to lay out big money for charities. Guy comes knocking at your door, right? And you give him a few bucks and your friend says, well, maybe that wasn't really a charity, maybe that was just some hobo looking for some money. Well, you can go to this organization and order a status certificate. That's what we did. And we were surprised to find out just how many dog associations there are in Ontario. Like 7. Whoa, okay. Some of them were defunct, some of them have never been defunct, some of them are registered as sole proprietorship, some of them are registered as nonprofit, some of them have done their proper status work and have upgraded the record keepings, but for a lot of them, the records were so outdated, it went back to 2000. Some went back to 1995. So that posed a real problem, because we can't bring them in unless they're properly registered. Otherwise, we look kind of foolish when we're going to the legal assembly saying, we want to include ABC organization, only to find out that they're not who they're holding themselves out to be. CPG was probably the one that surprised most of us the most, as it was registered as a sole proprietorship in June 2010. And its service at that point in time was educational support services. Now, it did apply for incorporation on January 4th of this year, and they did receive a registered business number, and they also received what is known as a society number. Pass that down. Again, these papers are available to anybody who wants to pay the fees to get them. So I went, okay, so what's a society? I know what a limited company is. What's this society angle? Well, a society is a portion of the business that is identified as being a group of members. An independent company, incorporated company, has directors, a society has members. Like the Ontario Dog Groomers Association, they have a membership and they have directors because they are a non-share company. In this case, I went, okay, gotta do my legwork here because I don't wanna get offended or offend anybody over who a society is or isn't.
Let me see this, that's my copy. Oh, this is yours?
No, that's
Oh,
hers.
that's that one.
So I order up the Society Guide for British Columbia. And again, you can order this in, right? And it's put out by the Law Foundation of British Columbia. So fairly big. And I'm flipping through this. And I go, okay, a legal incorporated organization is a separate legal entity, just like a real person. The society existence does not depend on any one person remaining alive. Rather, the organization will live as long as it continues to meet the requirements set out by the provincial government. Consequently, an incorporated organization may enter contracts and/or sue other entitlees to its own corporate name. Okay, legal charter. Then it goes on to say, a society that is only incorporated in British Columbia must limit its activities to this province. So, I went, okay. Then we go into extra.
Did you do this prior to all this?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you hadn't mentioned, none of you guys had mentioned CPG.
Well,
It was
you
us
know,
mentioning it, right?
we didn't want to offend people.
Right.
You know, and then they can apply for extra provincial society status. You know, that can be done and add on to what they originally have, of course, for a fee, and they have to incorporate it in each province and all of the rest of it. But they hadn't done it. They didn't.
They're not aware that they're not
Yeah, they're not.
Canada-wide. They say,
I
they saw the post, do you see the post, Michelle Grankow's post?
I didn't see any post today.
Yes, I did. I
Yeah.
did. And she's confused. The nice thing that would have been nice,
So they need to apply for what? Sorry.
Becky, was
That's right.
that we didn't hear
Wow.
anything from the owners of CPG. It's just Michelle. Michelle really has nothing to do other than
Because she
her
isn't
website.
listed.
That's
Yeah.
what she
She
takes
is
care
on
of.
the board, yeah.
But she
She's
is not listed
so
as a
she really
director.
is not on the board. She's just their website coordinator. It would have been nice if one of the three that is listed on the board would have come forward, not to embarrass her, but to have stated it
I think what
correctly.
she was going by is because you guys were saying that they were for profit
They
before.
are.
They
but
are.
not-
They were.
They're not now.
They may
They
still
are
be.
now. Now,
They are.
okay, so then I go, okay, so I've read this 500-page book. Tell me what else is out there. So I go back to